Hello YouTube, my name is Jack and welcome back to Barnyard Wargaming, and today we're doing another tournament in review. The difference with this one is that normally I'm in front of the camera and today I'm just going to be behind the camera with my little artwork here so I can tell you everything with a voiceover. Let me know what you think about this, if it's better or worse than the usual, because this way I can actually see all of the shots that I took and then remind myself about how I went into each of these games so I can tell you a little bit more about the game in detail. Now before we get into the list itself, I just want to remind you that we also have coaching services. We have a guide as well on how to play 40k, which is very accessible here on the interwebs. It is quite cheap. For only 50 Australian dollars you can actually get access to an hour of coaching every month and our guide on how to play and a supporter chat as well, and TTS events that we run monthly. You can just also get any of those individually as well, all on our Patreon. If you want to join us for games of TTS, we have them available on our Discord and through our Patreon. Also on top of that, we offer commission painting services. If you want your army to look as good as mine, then you can get some commission painted models from my lovely partner Adela. All the links in the description down below. And of course, we also have an additional 5% off for everything over at R&R if you use code Barnyard. So definitely go check out R&R Hobbies if you want a discount for all your 40k stuff. Now before we talk about my games, let's get into the army list. So what did I take and why? I took a demonic incursion list, and the reason I kind of went back to demonic incursion instead of something like Shadow Legion or any of the more mono god style detachments like Plague Legion is because the mono god detachments really favor specific matchups and then are really bad into other matchups, and that means that they're really good at something like a teams event where you can choose which matchups you're going to be getting. But at a singles event where you need to be good into every single army, you need the variation. And so demonic incursion or Shadow Legion is basically the best choice, and between those two I like demonic incursion more, and I'm a bit biased because I don't like Space Marines. Although I do own Chaos Space Marines, I don't really want to play Chaos Marines in my demon army because that's not really demons, that's Chaos Marines. So naturally I went demonic incursion. Now with demonic incursion, there were some changes that allow you to deep strike 6 inches away from your opponent, which is insanely powerful and still charge of course for a single command point, and so I changed my list around that. I ended up taking a Demon Prince with wings with Argath, King of Blades. Now the reason I took this guy, and he's a bit of an odd choice, is he actually is really small, can fit into really tiny gaps with something like a rapid ingress, and then he can fly across the board with an advance and charge if I need it, and annihilate whatever he touches. If he is within shadow when he hits his target, he'll get +2 attacks and +2 strength, and then on top of that, he also gets +2 strength from being Khorne, he gets +1 attack now from being near Scarbrand, and a Rendmaster gives him +1 strength, AP, and damage. And he also gets an extra 3 attacks once per game, and he gets either sustained hits, lethal hits, or precision every time he fights. So on the one turn that he basically activates, because in the next turn he's going to get absolutely destroyed, instead of having 6 attacks at strength 8, AP2, 3 damage, he will get +3 attacks, +1 attack, +2 attacks, which will take him up to like 12 attacks or something, sustained hits. He can go to strength 13, he can get an extra AP as well from the Draft of Terror stratagem, which is really nice, so he can go to AP 4 with the Rendmaster, and 4 damage at strength 13, and if I battle shock something with a skull cannon, then I can have 4 rerolls to wound as well. And that is quite insane on the sweep because it's 20 attacks, strength 10, AP2, 2 damage, sustained hits. It basically kills whatever it touches. Next up we have Kairos. He is really powerful these days with giving you extra command points. The Vect aura is insanely powerful, Lord of Deceit, so that you can give +1 CP cost to everything nearby, stop some overwatch, deny some fight on death. It's pretty nice. His indirect is also really handy, and I think that he performed really well all weekend. We also had a Poxbringer. The reason why I took a Poxbringer over something like a Beast of Nurgle is he fit perfectly into the list for 55 points, and he's also really small. For a single 32mm base, he is tiny, and that means that the enemy has to screen out a 6-inch deep strike 32 mil coin in the very back of their table, and it just limits the resources that they can use so that they can stop me from scoring points. I also had a Rend Master, as I said, for buffing all my units, and I had Rodigus as well, mainly just on his own because he's really cheap. For 250 points you can get a monster that's T12, and he also has 22 wounds with a 6 at Feel No Pain now, and he can also have his 7 attacks at strength 10 now, very, very nice, and +1 damage for all of his attacks means he's either damage 2 on the sweep or damage 4 on the strike. He can modify OC and movement, and he's OC 5. He's just a really good piece for 250 points. My MVP for the entire weekend was, of course, Scarbrand. I think that a lot of people are on the fence with Scarbrand at the moment. He is expensive at 305 points, and although he was my MVP, he needs to come down in price, I think, to make Demons a bit more competitively viable. I will talk about this at the end, but yeah, Scarbrand is probably a little bit overcosted. I think he could come down to maybe 270, and you know, Kairos could maybe come down to like 240. But that being said, he did do an insane amount of damage now that he gets advance and charge, and he gets extra attacks from himself. He's just so powerful. I love it. We also have Skull Taker, generally a really consistent piece in my army lists. The matchups weren't particularly amazing for me this weekend with him, but he normally does quite well in all of my lists. I have a unit of Bloodletters to join with Skull Taker as well. I have a single unit of 3 Nurglings, mainly just to block scout moves or to infiltrate into a spot to block other infiltrators and be a deep strike denial piece. I don't really use them for -1 to hit anymore because now that they don't have an aura ability, it's not that good. We also have 2 Beasts of Nurgle. The Beasts of Nurgle are there so that they can scout and also just hold a point. Now that they're OC3 and they also have scout moves and they're only 65 points, they're insanely powerful. I think that at least 1 is essential in pretty much every demon army list. I've gone with 2 here, but I'm debating going back to 1. We'll see how we go. I've also taken a unit of Flamers. I think that Flamers are really strong. Not because they deal any damage, but because they're just so cheap. They're only 65 points for 9 wounds with a 4-up invulnerable save. That is pretty annoying, seeing as they fall back and shoot, and they move 9 inches as well. Very powerful there. I think that that unit is quite strong for what it does, mainly just to do actions and block out some reserves. We have a unit of Fleshhounds. The Uppy Downy is very useful, and they are a large unit so they can block out lots of space, but I think having some variation between your scoring pieces, something like Flamers, Beasts of Nurgle, Fleshhounds, Screamers, etc. is quite good, and I never really found that I was using the Uppy Downy that effectively that I wanted more than 1. We also had 2 units of Screamers. I think the Screamers are quite underrated. They performed pretty well, you'll see in each of my games. And for 80 points instead of 75 compared to the Fleshhounds, they move an extra 2 inches, they still move through walls, they do mortal wounds and they fly over stuff, which is actually kind of clutch in a lot of matchups as well, for eliminating targets or freeing stuff up from melee if I can get enough mortal wounds so that some of my units can then move and charge again. It's pretty nice, and also their melee is quite strong. It's very good into Marines compared to Fleshhounds, because Fleshhounds are only strength 5, AP 1 damage, whereas the Screamers have 3 attacks each at strength 6, AP 2, and they have anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4 up, so they can be pretty clutch when they need to be. And last but not least, I had a Skull Cannon. I think the Skull Cannon was my weakest piece of the weekend. I don't really think he did any damage. I actually think if he came down to something like 65, 70 points, I think that he would be quite good, but his shooting is just too underwhelming. I think if his shooting had a boost in AP, potentially if it went to AP 3, it would be really good. But AP 1 is just so low, it doesn't really do any damage, and for 95 points to have a unit guard your backfield when you have sticky objectives in this detachment anyway, mainly just to cause a battle shock test on a 50-50 roll so that you can get a draft of Terror for rerolls, it's all just a little bit too complicated, and I don't think it's quite worth it. So I think moving forward that's going to be my weakest piece, but you'll see how the games went. So overall, let's see how I did. So the first game that I played was against Liam. Liam was a really lovely opponent, but wasn't quite as confident as he kind of had seen my videos before and knew who I was, and didn't really play as many games as I have going into this whole tournament experience, etc, etc. He did have a lot of armies, and we had lots of chats about those armies, and had a really fun game throughout this game one as well. Yeah, he did say many times that he was going to be a speed bump on my road to victory, which, to be fair, he was. It wasn't really because of a skill issue, it was because his dice sucked. I mean, I've never seen someone get dice so hard, except for maybe me a couple tournaments ago, where I just got diced, beyond belief with that Custodes game. In this game, already it was a uphill battle for him with his Wraith host list. The Spirit Conclave with his beautiful Wraith Knight. He did have a Wraith Knight with the Sun Cannon and Shield. It's not the most optimal build, but it did look really cool. He put it in reserve and then rapid ingressed on the side of the table, and I rapid ingressed after he moved in the next turn Scarbrand onto this objective, and he shot every single thing into Kairos and did 0 damage. I mean, literally 0 damage. He rolled so many 1s and 2s, it was ridiculous. And then, as you can see, my army kind of appeared out of the warp and killed everything. So, yeah. Sorry, Liam. That was just like really unlucky. He should have probably killed Kairos there, maybe taken some damage in return, but yeah, it was just a little bit rough. I kind of left the other side of the board untouched, and because we were playing supply drop, it didn't really matter. I could just sit on this one side and hold the objective, the Omega, that was going to be the last objective on the board, and that's exactly what I did. So yeah, a victory 80-40. In this next game, I versed House. Now, if you've seen my other videos and streams, you may have seen House before. He's been in some of my streams. He is a lovely gentleman. He's truly a really nice person and a lovely player, and like really good at the tabletop, really good painter as well. Yeah, he's just an all-round good bloke, and that is why he is on Team New South Wales. He represents the 8, just like I'm on Team New South Wales, but only part of the Team 24, he is part of the 8, like the main 8 players that represent the team. I think that you get the point. He is a star player, and honestly a really hard matchup for me to beat, let alone the fact that I am versing Orks. Demons just do not like versing Orks. They are really hard to beat because Orks generally have a lot of attacks that are AP like 1 or none, and the weight of dice is what brings down demons. And so Orks, with their 400 million dudes that just run all over the table, they're all just way too cheap. Everything in the Ork range is just so ludicrously cheap when you compare it to demons, and couple that with the fact that this is more DACA. Yeah, that detachment that hasn't been nerfed yet. Well, I mean, it has, but not in this tournament, because we were playing with the rules submitted before the changes. Even with the changes, I just don't think that it's a big enough nerf for this army. When you compare it to something like Demons just don't have the nuance. Like, there are just so many units here, and all of them move so fast, all of them deal damage to pretty much anything, they all have such good profiles. It's just a really unwinnable game. So I did lose, but I did give it my best efforts. Now, in this next game, I had the closest game of the weekend, which was against Pui yet again. I versed him in the last tournament, which was where I was playing my Scintillating Legion. This time, I was playing the Demonic Incursion, of course, and I put Scarbrand on the battlefield on turn 1. I had a very funny feeling that he was going to run an armature down one flank and try and steal my natural expansion objective, and if I played too passively, I wouldn't have anything to take it out on turn 1, and I needed something there to give me a kill, because this was Purge the Foe. Yet again, I'm versing Knights on Purge the Foe. Really hard game for me to win. But Scarbrand did manage to advance, charge, kill it, and then he did need to CP a reroll to charge and kill it, but he did kill it just, and then that allowed him to hold that point and sit behind the wall, and 3 armigers and an immolator came over to try and shoot him in the next turn. 2 of them charged me, 1 of them tank shocked, and I lived on 1 wound, hitting them both back, splitting my attacks and killing them both. And then I managed to pass my battle shock, heal 3 wounds, run away, survive an overwatch from another armiger, and later on he healed, uppy downied, etc, and managed to kill yet another armiger and Canis Rex through the 5 at Feel No Pain, 35 damage in 1 hit. Scarbrand was my MVP this game. Rodigus and Karas did honestly not very much, but I did win a very close game here because of Scarbrand. Now, in this next game, I versed Lee, who I versed, I think, twice before. Now, Lee is a really nice dude, really lovely guy that, I'm very, very happily, going to get along with any time. But I think that he's a bit more of a traditional player. And 40k has come a long way in terms of your sportsmanship and what you do at the table. And Lee gotcha momented me like 5 or 6 times throughout the game, which kind of led to me losing. It was not particularly enjoyable, and I did have words with Lee at the end of the game being like, look, you can't do that. And he was like, yeah, okay, I understand, I get it. So hopefully moving forward, don't gotcha moment people. I know that this was just a bit of a misunderstanding. It didn't really matter anyway. It was like a fun game because I'd already lost to House. I wasn't going to win the event. But don't gotcha moment people. That's just a bad thing to do at your games. Leave it for another time. You want to be really transparent with your opponent and be clear with everything up front. So that's why I lost. In the last game of the weekend, thankfully, I had the nicest opponent there. Jaden, the literal Viking himself. He's been on stream many times. He's a true gem of a human. Any game against Jaden is awesome. And we were playing the Demon Mirror. Yeah, Shadow Legion versus Demonic Incursion. It was really something to behold because there was 4 objectives in the middle thanks to hidden supplies. And that means that I was holding 2, he was holding 2. Therefore, we both had shadow, and we were both in the enemy shadow the entire game. It was absolutely crazy. Yeah, lots of random shenanigans going on, like my Skull Cannon shooting a unit of 9 Nurglings. If they pass Battle Shock, they heal D3 bases. If they fail, they take D3 mortal wounds. Very risky, but it was random as hell. Yeah, it was close. He had that Bloodthirster with Fade to Darkness where it can kill something and then uppy downy immediately, so you had to trap it before it can leave. And thankfully, I did. I managed to keep it on the field with Skull Taker's unit and a Beast of Nurgle. And the Beast of Nurgle survived the mortal wounds and whatnot. Same with Skull Taker, thankfully, which meant that he was trapped and I could kill him in the next turn. And I just kind of slowly bled him of resources. The Warp Talons landed with rapid ingress. Kairos indirected 4 of them off the table. Then they charged me, didn't do very much. I killed them. They couldn't uppy downy either. It was just, yeah, slow demise. I think Jaden probably could have won this game. Maybe just trying to auto-see me on objectives and add pressure early, but my army was always going to kind of out-trade him just because I had more damage. So it was interesting. A very close game. It was literally down to the wire. If that Great and Clean one in the corner had absolutely slapped Scarbrand silly in the last round there, I would have lost by 1 point. But I ended up winning, and it was close with a score of 92 to 86. Overall, a really, really fun last game to the weekend, and lots of fun. Thank you, Jaden. So, overall, how do I feel about the list, and how do I feel about Demonic, Incursion, and Demons as a whole, I guess? Well, I've said in many other of my videos that I think that Demons really struggle. They're kind of misrepresented because at low table they do quite well because they're a simple army, right? They rely on stats and your opponent kind of making mistakes for you to get in and do the damage. Same as something like Knights or Custodes. When they're good, they're great, but when they're bad, they're terrible. There's no kind of middle ground. Other armies in the game that have a lot more leeway, very niche tricks, something like Drakari or Marines or Orks, Guardsmen, etc. They're always going to be playable, mainly because they have lots of cheap infantry. You can find ways to get damage out of them no matter what the game is, really. And Demons just don't have that. They don't have that long range firepower, and then they don't have tricks to like get back in a transport or tank shock or grenade or anything like that. They're very one-dimensional. And if your opponent can find a way around that, which pretty much everyone in the top 10% of players can do, they're not very easy to win with. And that might be a challenge to people, go out and play Demons, try it for yourself, but I've done some decent work with Demons. I've played like 160 games of Demons, and I got like a 70-something, 80% win rate. It just can't seem to win any events with them because, you always have that one game, like I did here against House, where you just can't win. There's always some broken army that just out-trades you, and you just can't get away with it. So yeah, I feel like Demonic Incursion is in a good spot. It's very well-rounded. I enjoy playing them a lot, and out of my list, I reckon I would probably remove the Skull Cannon and add some more chaff. Maybe even try like the Changeling for some lone op abilities so that I can hold an objective. We'll see. Maybe just add in more beasts. I don't know. We're going to mess around with it and see how we go. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and you watched all the way to the end, please like and subscribe. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later, and it really helps me out in creating these videos and making more content for you guys. Otherwise, definitely go check out the coaching services. We have coaching, we have the guide, we have the supporter chat, we have TTS events. We also have commission painting services if you want all your models to go and look amazing, like my models here, or even better than my models because I painted these. Then definitely go check out Adela's commission painting services. Yeah, she deserves every bit of limelight that she can get, so please go check it out and at least inquire. You lose nothing by inquiring. And otherwise, go check out the R&R Hobbies store for an additional 5% off all your stuff over there. You can use code Barnyard just from watching today's video. And otherwise, I shall see you all in the next one. Thank you all for watching. Bye.